Welcome to Life Esteem, a program committed to deliver information that's important to you and your community. Your hosts are Nathaniel and Patricia Gadsden.
Hello and welcome to Life Esteem. Always great to have you as a viewer. Hey, today we have an exceptional program. We're talking about a wonderful mission here in the Harrisburg area. It's called Someone to Tell It To. And we have with us Tom Caden and also Michael Gingrich, and they're going to tell us all about this wonderful mission. Welcome to the show.
Morning. Thank you.
So tell us, someone to tell it to. Tell us about that.
First of all, the name comes from the Australian author Miles Franklin. She wrote at one point that someone to tell it to is one of the fundamental needs of human beings. We loved that quote because we believe that's true. Everybody has a story to tell. Everyone has something to say. And we like to provide the opportunity for people to be able to tell their story and say what they have to say about their lives and about their feelings and their beliefs.
I like that.
I like that too, because one of the things I heard you say earlier that you didn't want to use the term or word or phrase counseling and to talk about someone to tell it to. And I'd say all the time, people really like talking about themselves.
That's right. Absolutely.
So that really ties in very well.
And you also find the issues in their story, is that right? They find the issues in their story.
That's right, absolutely.
You know, it's really the story. Yeah.
And there's always more to the story than what anybody can see on the surface. And we like to help people get beyond the surface, go to a deeper level of intimacy with themselves and with other people to connect in, we hope, more profound ways.
Okay.
And essentially, we say that we create a safe place for people to unburden themselves, whatever they're dealing with, whatever crisis, if they're hurting, if they're suffering, if they're broken. We want to be a place where they can share it, and to do it in a way that's non-judgmental and non-confrontational, but we can be just a listening ear for them.
Very good. And tell me, I don't want to say your typical client, but who's going to come to you then? What kind of person finds their way to someone to tell it to?
Wow, there is no one that's typical in many ways, except that in many cases we find that people express loneliness, that they don't have someone to tell it to, that they don't feel safe, even with the people they are closest to, whoever they may be, and they just need to share.
Wow.
In fact, we reach people not just here nationwide, but we actually reach people all around the world.
Oh, do you?
And we utilize various forms of social media, Skype, and we'll Skype with people who need someone to tell it to halfway around the world.
I've asked my wife to set up Skype 1,000,000 times. I don't even know what Skype. No, I shouldn't. But I really, that's fantastic. And it works for you, right?
It does.
Because
in fact,
people,
we are regularly talking with a young man from Uganda, from Kampala, Uganda, and he shares with us, and we just were in touch with him yesterday.
Okay.
Again.
And uniqueness about your ministry, you don't necessarily charge a fee for your mission, for your service, but you do, I mean, you ask for maybe, how do you work that?
Donations.
Yeah.
Donations, okay. So that's unique, you know.
Yeah, we want to be able to provide our services to anyone who needs to be able to share, free of charge. Our hope is that we'd be able to raise enough funding to support what we're doing and to support our families. And also, you know, our 5-year plan is to be able to hire more people, because this mission is continuing to grow daily, and the need continues to increase. And obviously, we're only 2 people who have a certain number of hours in a day to listen, but we also know that we'd love to train other people to be able to do this also.
Also, you do provide that opportunity then to reach out to others that want to do similar work that you're doing.
We want to be able to provide that opportunity.
Right.
That's how we, that's our plan, to be able to grow into that.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, that's, I'm glad you said that. Okay, I think maybe we can talk. Because I do some chaplains training, as I was sharing with you before we went on the air. And we have some great folks who I think would be interested in the work you're doing. Let's just put it that way.
Well, that's great to hear.
Absolutely, yes indeed. So, you know, when did you start and why did you start? You're both in ministry, from what I understand, right? Both had Masters of Divinities.
That's correct.
And you were pastors at the time. And then all of a sudden this idea comes up. How did it all come about?
We just connected when we were at a similar church, the same church together, and we became friends. And we just spent a lot of time talking with one another, getting to know one another, and I think as each of us began to discover who one another was, we realized that we had the same calling, our gifts, to really listen, to connect with people wherever they were and really provide that place, that safe place for them. And one day when we were together, actually I credit Tom for this. He says, why don't we do something together and do it officially? And that's where it was born, you know, on a walk that we had one day in a park, just, you know, unexpectedly.
And we both had terrific experiences in the church. We have, you know, great memories, and we had, you know, great interactions with a lot of people, but this is something that, I don't know, just kind of developed, and it was more fully who we are. Yeah. And in some ways we feel like we're able to take our mission to greater places and the heart of our sense of call to greater places than we were able to in a local church.
Beautiful, beautiful.
You know, I really like that because I've heard, particularly in regard to ministry, is that you find that gift, that thing that you best can provide. Right. And it may not be the pastor or associate or assistant, but it may be some other initiative like you just found with the two of you. So that's really inspirational.
Thank you.
Think about that, yes.
And the fact is, one of the things that we talk about constantly is that we get to do it together. If either one of us were doing it alone, it would be much more difficult, perhaps overwhelming, because sometimes the issues we hear, the things that people tell us, some pretty heavy, serious things, and to be able to share it with one another, to know that we don't have to walk this path by ourselves is really helpful too. That really makes a difference.
And you also said before we begin the tape here that you don't call it counseling, you call it
compassionate listening.
I love that. Yeah, compassionate listening. And tell us why you decided to, call it that as opposed to counseling.
Well, we both are pastors, and that's our background, and we both have Masters of Divinity degrees, and we have served in local churches, but we don't have counseling experience in the sense that we don't have the educational background to be counseling.
Or the clinical background.
And also that's not necessarily our sense of call either.
Absolutely, yes.
We both are gifted to listen, and we do provide, hopefully, inspiration and encouragement, but we don't necessarily project philosophies or solutions onto people. We try
or even diagnosing people or trying to even fix them. It's a matter of helping them to
be who they are
and get to a place where they can comfortably and safely find who they are in their lives.
I remember in graduate school, I always tell everybody this, a little book that I read that changed my life was, the title is, Why Am I Afraid to Tell You Who I Am? And the answer is because you might not like me.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, so that's like a little classic that's out there. And I tell people about it all the time. Because most people just want to be listened to and heard and accepted, or at least, respected, while they're into that, right?
That's a niche that we think that we can fit into. We also feel it's a very huge vacuum where people don't listen well, and many people feel that they are not listened to.
Yes.
And we believe that if we can help to provide that, and then help that to grow, so that we can teach other people how to do that as well, that we could solve a lot of the problems, a lot of the issues that
one of our favorite comments that we hear often is, I've never shared that with anyone before. And to us, that is the most fulfilling and meaningful comment that anybody could make to us.
So a trust level then was raised.
To know that we can provide that level of trust is very meaningful to us.
And I think you said something earlier too when you made mention that this is not counseling, it's compassionate listening, which is different in the clinical aspect, that that if you're working directly with a therapist, a counselor, there's certain expectations you have.
That's right.
And may limit you in some regards, but in what you're doing, that's not what the whole premise is. I think it's a different technical manner of really helping people move forward. So I really like that.
There are a lot of distinctions too. We meet people whatever's safe for them. So we'll meet them in a restaurant, we will meet them in a coffee shop if that's safe. We've met a man in a bar one night, and that is safe. That's an environment that they're comfortable sharing in. And also, we don't schedule sessions for 50 minutes like a prototypical counselor. And there's a certain place for that in society, for sure. But we also will listen for extended periods of time. And we were on the phone with a woman the other day for 2.5 hours.
Right. Wow.
And that's what she needed. She was having a horrible day.
If that's what it takes, so that's what we'll do.
But I see you say we, so oftentimes your intervention or is it
Much of the time it's together.
Okay.
Much of the time we do it together, which is helpful too, because the person gets two for the price of one, so to speak. But it enables us, I think, I think we're stronger together than we are as individuals, and that's important too.
That's powerful. Yes, good stuff. I know that they say back to chaplaincy that one of the fastest growing areas is the truck stop. And also the taxi cab. So you mentioned being in that non-traditional setting, so to speak. It's amazing because you got to see them where they are.
That's right.
Yeah.
We feel very strongly about that. Wherever someone is, whatever their beliefs are, whatever their circumstances are, that's where we meet them, and we'll go from there.
Okay. And you're a 501c3, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
We finally got it.
You finally got it.
A couple months ago.
It took 10 months,
it is, I know.
as it often does, but we got it with no problems, and we were very happy on that day.
And so how long have you actually had your mission? Okay.
We started last January together officially.
Okay.
We became
2012.
January 2012.
Yes.
Okay.
we became licensed in the state of Pennsylvania to be able to do what we're doing, but then also we finally got our 501c3 this year. But we've been seeing people, pretty much our whole lives, but essentially we embarked upon this full time as of last January.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned also the license in the state, because, one of the things we always try to do with the show as well is help people to understand, the process. What did it take for you to get there, so to speak? So a lot of folks out there have dreams and ideas about starting a business or something, but they don't always know the process. So in the licensure, you weren't, I guess, how did you characterize yourself? You weren't a counseling necessarily, or what did you become licensed through, or how did you become licensed through the state? Like, is it a counseling business? Is that what you
probably that was the term that we
you had to
probably
come up under
used
that,
because that was the more standard, more standard term.
Right.
But then we had to write a narrative for both the state and the IRS to get the nonprofit status about what it is we do, and they come back and they ask some questions for further clarification and to understand it all, and they approved us.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, that's always, people don't always understand. They think they just throw that shingle up and say, hey, no, it doesn't happen.
No, the first step is to see a lawyer. And then find out what you have to do to meet all the legal requirements, and then that's what we did, the registrations. And
that's the other thing, is that we've just had so much help since we started. I mean, we honestly would not be where we are without the help of so many individuals, legal work, website design. I mean, we've had so many people who are just eager to support us in this mission, and we definitely want to thank them.
And they provided their services for free, of course, which otherwise we couldn't have done it.
I hear you. That's
and then most importantly, we give a shout out to our wives too, because they're
shout out to the wives. That's right.
Absolutely,
good man.
Gotta thank the wives.
Very supportive of us, and we are extremely grateful for both of them.
That's great. So someone's hearing this for the first time, hearing about your service, and they're saying, okay, I want to, contact these guys. How do they get in touch with you, and what should they expect in terms of the process?
Probably the easiest way is through our website, which is www.someonetotellit2.org, and on it has our phone numbers, as well as the form to fill out to contact us, as our email addresses. We get a lot of people reach out that way through email. They will write to us and say they've heard about us and they want to know, could we set up a time to talk or for us to listen, and we go from there. We respond to every request, everyone who contacts us.
Now, do they have to have something specific that they share on that form that they want to talk about? It's just that's it. Okay.
No,
Just want to talk.
We don't ask any questions in that regard. We do that when we get back in touch with them. And
we do have a list of referrals too. If there are things that are outside of our area of expertise, or they need further assistance, then we will be sure to refer them to other local organizations.
I always tell counselors or chaplains, whoever, that one of your greatest tools is the tool of referral, because you can't do it all. Isn't that right?
And we also talk with people who are already seeing a therapist or a counselor, but they will come to us to be able to talk about some things that they can't talk about or don't talk about with them, and so we like to work in cooperation.
Particularly the spiritual component. I mean, that's our background, and that's what we're able to provide. And naturally, as we mentioned to you before, when in times of crisis or people who are hurting or suffering, the matters of faith just always come up in conversation.
That's right. Absolutely. And when you say that, like, what are the main things that kind of, you mentioned loneliness. What are the kind of, sort of theological crisis, I guess, are people dealing with,
I think people are oftentimes on a journey to find out who they really are. And we use that kind of language all the time. In fact, we're in the process of completing our first book together. And some of the themes that we talk about in the book is that everyone is worthy. Everybody has something to offer. And we believe that in some ways, if those messages would be relayed to a broader audience, we think that it literally could change the way people interact with others and interact with the world.
And your program is called Life Esteem, and it's perfect for what we do. It's self-esteem, and people, as Tom said, truly believing that they're worthy just because they are, not because of what they do, but because they are just a person, and that makes them worthy just in and of itself. And we find that so many people don't believe that about themselves,
and they don't,
or know that about themselves, and I think it's our goal to help them, if nothing else, know that they are loved, that they are worthwhile, that they have something to offer, that they are gifted. All of us are, in our own special ways, and we try to help people find that giftedness to be who they are and know that they are vital and important.
I like that. Find that giftedness, man. And it's there, like you said, they just don't know. I know Pat's done tremendous work over the years with the self-esteem building, self-esteem workshops all over the place. In fact, that's what, she does full time. And it is a shame. Our society, I think, is pushing always compare yourself.
That's right.
You need to have this, you need to go here, you need to be this, and all that kind of stuff.
One of the things that I think we find ourselves telling people a lot is, don't compare yourself.
Thank you.
Don't. Because we often hear, well, my sister is doing this or is doing that, and I should be doing this too. No, not necessarily. That might be good for her, but you can't judge yourself by someone else. We're all individuals. We're all unique.
Another topic that we talk about often with people is guilt and shame, and we live in a culture where people are afraid to share who they really are because they're afraid of being criticized.
Absolutely.
And just yesterday, there was something that I was dealing with that I was afraid almost to not with Michael, but to share it with others. It's common issues that people deal with every day, and they're afraid for whatever reason to be able to share it. And we think that by being able to share it with us, we think that they're able to become more free. And
a lot of people are hiding a lot of things that they feel ashamed of.
Absolutely.
And a lot of those things they don't need to feel ashamed of. They think they do. And just by being able to voice them, to get them into the open and talk about them is a huge liberating thing for them. And we like to provide that too. And we don't provide judgment against people.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just whatever you want to share, whatever you need to say, whatever you've done, whatever you are thinking about, it's okay to say it, and we'll take it from there. And we're not going to condemn you, criticize you, or kick you out because of it.
It's so interesting you're talking about this, because we live in a society, unfortunately, that doesn't really have a venue, a way that people can do exactly what you're just saying. So to see what you all have put together here, I think it's going to be so empowering. It's to see to have other people come through and say, yeah, this is what I've been looking for. This is what I need.
We've actually heard that. We had a woman in her late 60s write to us and say that she'd been searching her whole life to be able to talk with somebody, and had never really had any success going to various counselors and things, and it just never had the opportunity to really share it. And she said, you just might be it. And we've allowed that person to be able to share with us, and we pray that we're helping and just providing that, which so many people have not been able to find.
They often say people actually have the answers within them. They kind of know, but
that's right.
You have to kind of pull it out on. Another thing, I'm glad you mentioned shame and guilt, because so many people have gone through, let's say, financial difficulties recently, or have had to break up a relationship, and like you said, they can't talk about it, But it's something that so many people have gone through, and there's really no stigma except the stigma that we put on ourselves. But just to be able to bring that out is just I can't do it. And oftentimes, even the person that's the so-called helping person sort of makes you feel kind of bad about it. So to have this kind of service, I think, is just
particularly with men. We find that men oftentimes will not share.
Wow.
And so that's why a lot of men would not go to see a licensed counselor in an office. And so being able to meet them in a coffee shop or a bar, as we've done before, is an environment that they're comfortable in. And so talking about common problems, financial difficulties, marital strife, I mean, these are common problems that everyone deals with every day.
Everyone deals with everything. And that's a perfect segue into this little announcement I'm going to make about the third annual Fatherhood and Family Celebration that's going to take place on Saturday, June the 15th at the State Museum of Pennsylvania. It's located at 300 North Street in Harrisburg. It's a free program that runs from 10 actually until 5. We have all kinds of things, all kinds of vendors, all kinds of presentations from dance to all kinds of workshops, excuse me, on physical health and stuff like that. And we're going to have outstanding speakers. Our featured speaker is Tanya Grady with Grady Girl Productions out of New York City. She's a filmmaker as well as an author, and this is really about the family. And more specifically, it's about getting the father, the man, to take responsibility and to step back up and be engaged with his family. But we want you to come out. It's free, free food too, by the way. We have a picnic-style, luncheon, and by the way, we're going to have a free play as well, a play called The Visit, and that will take place from 3 to 5, and you're just going to have a great time. So please come out. On Saturday, June the 15th, bring your entire family. I'm trying to coax these two great men to come out and be vendors there, because I think you need to meet them and hear about the wonderful mission that they have. And so we hope that you'll come out, okay? For more information, you can always call 732-0700. That's 732-0700. That's the United Way at the Capital Region. And just ask for me, Nate Gadsden. Happy to talk to you about it, okay? Thank you. So anyhow, gentlemen, again, I would like to have you down there too, if you can make it. If the invitation's there.
We are considering it.
Yeah, please do. I notice, you guys are busy and everything. But this is a great mission. I'm so glad that you're doing the work. And you mentioned your 5-year plan. What is your biggest challenge right now in terms of sustaining the business, keeping it going and that kind of thing? And I say business, but mission.
Well, it is that business aspect, that business part. It's sustaining that and getting the necessary funding. That is probably the most difficult, time-consuming part.
And we're both pastors, and we don't have a whole lot of business expertise, so we surround ourselves, or trying to surround ourselves with people who have more information and more knowledgeable in that area.
And with the 501c3, you can do grantmanship and stuff like that.
We can get grants. We're applying for grants, talking with churches, with businesses, other organizations, anywhere where we can find the help and the support that we need financially.
Okay. I know one of the things Pat has been very successful at is making relationships with agencies and then getting sort of like contracts as opposed to going after grants and building up that, I'll work with your clients kind of thing and that kind of thing. So that's something you may want to look in.
Absolutely.
Because I can see you definitely doing. I forget the name of the agency. There's a counseling agency around here. It's Massetti and Sullivan or something like that. They've done tremendous work with,
Massetti and Sullivan.
And I can see you guys doing that kind of thing. Yeah, Massetti and Sullivan,
Thank you. Well, thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. So, but, a person calls you and they are in distress. Do people oftentimes call for someone else? In other words, my aunt's going through something, my son's...
We get a lot of that. We get a lot of people say, my aunt needs to, she ought to be talking with you, and I'm going to tell her, but then sometimes the people themselves don't call back. It's hard for people to reach out and to initially open up. It takes courage. Because they don't know what's going to be on the other end. They don't know when they do share whatever they share, how it's going to be received.
That's right.
And to be able to take that initial step is very courageous.
And how young of a person? I mean, did it have to be a certain age where you will talk with them? Okay.
We think we've been gifted to connect with a wide range of people, and at least we hope we are. And so we'll speak with anybody. We'll listen to anybody.
Well, culturally as well, because one of the things you mentioned, you're having a Skype through a young man in Uganda.
Yes, that's correct.
And having work food, so that's another venue, that social media that's available that people need to, if they can't get to you directly in person,
absolutely right.
that there's another way that they can have this opportunity to someone to listen to.
But I'm intrigued by that. How did he find you?
I think it was word of mouth, and we actually started doing these Facebook ads, and it just kind of exploded for us, and we were getting all kinds of people viewing our website, and we blog 3 times a week.
Okay.
And so we provide hopefully inspiration through our writing.
Yeah, and we just posted, we wrote a blog yesterday on loneliness. Again, that's such a huge issue.
Right.
And we already, put it out, we put it on our website, on our blog, and then we also post it on Facebook, and we get a lot of people looking at it and reading it, and we just try to generate that kind of, we hope, discussion and thought from people to consider some of these issues.
In fact, later this afternoon, we're going to be a part of a forum on Facebook to learn how to create a community where people can discuss issues together through our website. Yeah. So, for example, we talk about listening, listening skills, and creating a venue where people could discuss that openly.
So Facebook you find to be extremely helpful in terms of your, wow, okay.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. A lot of people shy away from those things. Oh man, but I'm telling you, if you use it correctly, right?
That's right. Wow. And we get a lot of people who will message us privately on Facebook. So it's not all, it doesn't at all have to be public either.
Okay.
And there is a private component, and people reach us and we reach them in that regard too.
And do you use the LinkedIns and all that other kind of stuff that they have?
We are
out
on
there
LinkedIn as well. So we're trying to find any way that we can.
That's right.
To connect with people.
I actually heard someone say, I think it was a Fortune 500 company, said, notice that all your Fortune 500 companies, they do all that stuff. Everything you mentioned, they do it. And so they say, if you're not doing that, then you're missing out, So that's very important. Well, this is an excellent, mission that you've started, and I only hope that it is extremely successful because you're helping people.
Yes, you are.
And I know that also, though, the challenge of raising the funds and still being nonprofit, that's not easy, right? No, but you mentioned that the churches have been helpful.
We've had churches that have supported us financially, and as well as a number of individuals who've been very generous with us, because they see what we're doing. Some of them have benefited from what we're doing, and they realize that they believe that it's important and want to encourage us and help us to do it.
Okay, very good. I don't know if you gave a number out. Did you give a number out that you can reach that? Or is there
the website.
Is this the website?
Website is probably the best.
That's the best way. So people don't just call you; they just go to the web.
Yeah, that's the best way.
Okay, very good.
And then that website again for everybody.
www.someonetotellitto.org.
Someonetotellitto.org. Okay, and I think it's on the screen there as well, so they can see it. And I sure hope people will contact you. Again, I want to thank you for watching the show and everything. And these gentlemen are doing a tremendous, missions work. And so we all know that there's somebody, ourselves, plus people that we know, who could certainly need a good listening, person and persons. And I think you'll find it in someone to tell it to. So please contact them. Again, it's someonetotellitto.org, www.someonetotellitto.org. And I think you'll be pleased that you called. Hey, or made contact. And don't forget about the third annual celebration of fatherhood and family. And that's going to be on Saturday, June 15th from 10 to 5 at the State Museum, which is located at 300 North Street. Have yourself a blessed day. Whatever you do, be a blessing to someone else. And we'll see you next time here on Life Esteem. God bless.